Government's intention not to ban the plastic. I'm saying this because some plastics are not easily decomposed, especially the black potting bag. When it gets to the soil, it blocks a lot of nutrients for the plant to grow. Look at the seas. People go to the sea and then instead of catching fish, they catch potting bags. So I don't know specifically which of them can be banned, which of them cannot be banned. Because if you do the whole blanket state, we are not going to ban it. For behavior, I bet you are not going to change our behavior as a country. Because look at the government, people are doing so. I want to be the government to have a come out a specific policy. These particular brands, we are going to ban them. Others not. If we leave it leeway, I hope we are fighting a losing battle. Thank you very much. So if you can express to us what programs and policies you are going to put in place to make sure that those who are not decomposable can be banned. Those can, for instance, the bottles can correct them. The certain water can correct them. The pieces of plastic can correct them. But the black protein bags are very difficult to decompose. It can take about 50 years in the soil. Thank you very much.
Hello, Prof. My name is Nelampi from Daily Graphic. In your presentation, you said Ghana signed an MOU with SpaceX to build a base at Kuntinasi or so to track satellite. But I remember on July 7th, 2017, All Nations University, a private university in Kofobia, put Ghana in the League of Nations exploring space science. I mean, this attracted global attention. The university spent almost over 100 million training young scientists.
Over 100 million.
Over $100 billion.
Over 100.
Over $1 million. Sorry. Over $1 million training young scientists at QTech University in Tokyo, in Kyushu, Japan. As a government that believes in private sector as the engine of growth, what is the state or your ministry is doing to support such private university to explore the feat that it had already attained?
Very well. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Oguri Eboa. I write for the Chronicle newspaper. I think about 2 months ago, I interacted with one Magnus Nuno of the Plastic Manufacturers Association. Just keep up with my brother's contribution here. I want to know, he told me that in Ghana here, they manufacture, those who manufacture the plastics, their plastic that they manufacture, they are biodegradable. But those ones that are coming from China, they are not environmentally compliant. And I want to know how true is it, and are those imported ones really compliant with what do you call it, the EPA rules?
So, Prof, we'll take this three and then we'll move on. How true is the claim that the imported plastics are not biodegradable? What support are we giving to all nations? And then, yeah, the ban on plastic. Would you make some exceptions?
See, this plastic issue is very important, and I'm happy you're asking these questions. The black ones are not any special thing. All the plastics, including the white ones, the pale ones, the soft ones, all take hundreds of years to degrade. Not only the black ones. The black ones are the end. From black, you can't go anywhere else. It's beautiful. So, now, I'll come back to you, but let me go to the plastic manufacturers. They produce only a small percentage, a relatively small percentage of plastic that are used in Ghana. And there is no plastic that is entirely biodegradable. What EPA did was to certify additives. So you add to the plastic as you're manufacturing it during the manufacturing process. And this additive makes it oxo biodegradable. That is, in the presence of light, and so on, it disintegrates into bits and pieces, but it doesn't disappear. So the plastic, the oxo biodegradation will break the plastics into tiny bits. You may not see it in the soil, but when it rains, it may enter water bodies, eventually into the sea, and serve as food for planktons and small fish. And eventually, it will accumulate and come back to us. So the point is that there's, as far as I know, there's no plastic that will disappear, cease to become plastic, and then become some carbon or some water or something. So that's the way it is. Now, if we say that we are not, use a certain word, that we can't, discipline, attitude, and so on. Yes. Yes. That attitude will make a ban impossible. Because what happens? You announce one day that you ban plastics. Even in Rwanda, where they say they ban plastics, there's active smuggling of plastics from DR Congo and Tanzania into Rwanda. Kenya has banned plastics. But when we were there in March, we were told that they have at least 50 exemptions. Because people making bread will come and say, okay, we are baking bread, the bread will get wet, fries will settle on it, so allow us to use plastics. And then other people will come. So in the end, you have exemptions everywhere. So what happens if people start smuggling plastic from our neighboring countries, porous borders into Ghana? How, with that attitude, how are you going to manage it? So we have to find a way of making sure that we manage the plastics so that it will not have effect on our health, our industry, and job creation. And that is why we think that we have to adopt the circular economy. Because right now, as I said, there are Ghanaian companies that are using the plastic to make fuel, plastic to make pavement stones, plastics to many other things. I know a company in Pram Pram that is also using tires to make fuel. So we are trying to encourage this plastic economy as we educate ourselves, so that if we're able to dispose of the plastic well, we have segregation at source. We're able to collect the plastic, transport it to somewhere that it can be utilized. That will help our industry, it will help our health, and so on. At the same time, I'm not saying that we shouldn't buy anything. At the same time, things that you don't need, things that will not affect your economy now, can be banned. I mentioned plastic carrier bags. If you are going to a shopping center to buy bread or provisions, you can use cotton bag. I have about 10 of them. If you are going to, you don't need, if you are going to drink water or some soft drink, you use the original instrument that God gave you. You don't need a straw. If plastic cutlery, you don't need it. If you are going to buy wache, take a bowl from home or use the leaves. You know, so these are the things that we have to educate ourselves to start using. And not to say, ban it when you know you cannot ban it, Ghanaians will not comply, and so on. I'm not saying that because they will not comply, we shouldn't ban. That is why we have the Resource Recovery Center, where the policy will not be cast in iron that you can't change it. We'll leave room as we go along, as we find substitutes. Now, for example, the black polythene bag that you're afraid of. We are thinking that, for example, if we can get bamboo and cut it into bits with the base where the joints are intact, we may be able to use that to nurse seedlings. So if we're able to educate ourselves, get this thing going, and people accept the industry, then maybe we can find bamboo to nurse seedlings, and we can do away. Then we can say that we don't want to see this plastics in agriculture. But once you haven't found it, it will be difficult. So the Resource Recovery Center will be thinking about how to find replacement for all the plastic that we use. And then it will not be a policy cast in iron that you cannot do anything and so on. I hope you are beginning to appreciate what I call the circular economy. See, our problem now is to something to hold water. If somebody wants to bottle water what we use. If somebody is going to the market to buy some oil, cooking oil, fried oil, and something, small quantity, what we use. Now, if we're able to find substitutes for this thing, then we'll start banning those plastics. That's how we want to approach it. SpaceX, there are different things. We are working with All Nations University in the drafting of our space policy. The director of STI is here. We are working with All Nations University, Sunyani University for Energy. We are working with KNUST, and all the universities are on that, including, but in any case, what All Nations University did is different from what SpaceX is doing. They bought a CubeSat, a small satellite, which was sent into space with a rocket built by SpaceX, one of the Falcon 9 rockets. So SpaceX sent the the All Nations University CubeSat into space. And it was there doing Earth observation. But what we are saying is that we need this ground station that to be able to receive signals from any satellite, including the one built by All Nations University. So these are complementary. The ground station is a ground station that is able to receive signals from space, Earth observation, a lot of satellites, including the one built by All Nations University. So they are part of our program. When we get plenty of money, we'll help them and so on as we go along.
Plastic levy account, and you want to know when it will be activated. Okay, all right. There was a hand up here, so let me quickly take GNA so that once we go back, we don't come forward again. Plastic levy account. Yes, GNA.
Yeah, thank you. In the minister's presentation, he said that EPA last year visited 550 companies that are not complying with the noise pollution level. And I want to find out any punitive action taken against them and any monitoring mechanism put in place to make sure they comply with the law. And then there are issues of some companies cited in residential areas that's causing a lot of problems for people. The minister should comment on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Ofoiluji from Atinka TV. I'd like to know, with the e-waste facility at Agbogbloshie, I'd like to know when, first of all, has it started, the facility, are they building it, and then when is it due for completion, and where is the funding coming from? Is it government that is taking care of the funding?
Yes, my name is Walani Frank from Metro TV. Some years back, I covered a story at Atomic area where a former director general led his workers to go and burn some Chinese people who were trying to, yes, they burned some equipment belonging to some construction firm who were trying to take part of the atomic land to construct, I think it was a supermarket we were trying to construct there, but those lands form part of the atomic energy's enclave. Now I realize that the land there gradually is getting smaller, and we are talking about introducing nuclear energy into our energy mix. So my question would be to the minister, if we are going to do such a thing, have we considered how it will impact the environment and how we are going to protect such land from being encroached upon in case there's a radiation? I'm looking at it from that point, because when that incident happened, the boss of the Atomic Energy Commission was particularly concerned that in case there's an incident, those living around the area were going to face problems. And so then he led his workers to undertake that particular action. So I don't know whether we are talking about 10 sites. How secure are they going to be? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Final one, Ernest, let's hear from you.
Thank you very much. My name is Ernest from Joy News. The minister talked about our natural resources and the fact that we can only claim to be owners when we properly exploit these resources. The Itiwa issue will not go away. The proponents, those who think that we shouldn't be mining there, believe that government has not demonstrated that the mining that will be done there will be a sustainable one. Just last week, the land minister in an interview said that government is going to do sustainable mining, but there isn't for them enough demonstration, and the examples all over the world show that there's nothing like sustainable mining. Once you move into the forest, you destroy all the species and what have you, and especially the water which supplies to many parts of the country. And then finally, so can you tell us, can government demonstrate to us how this isn't going to affect our water and all of that? And then can you give us an update on the Inter-Ministerial Mining Committee, their work? When will the community mining, for instance, start? Thank you.
Okay. So colleagues, thanks for your questions. Just to recap, plastic levy account and when it starts, 550 non-compliant companies, what's happened to them? Are we monitoring to ensure that they don't get back to their untoward ways? Has Agbogbloshie e-waste project commenced? What's the cost? What's the funding? How do we plan to protect atomic lands so that when we eventually have a nuclear plant, we don't have encroachment that could possibly lead to challenges? Environmental protection mechanisms for mining in the Tiwa forest as well. Prof.
Let me take the atomic lands first. I can say with certainty that the nuclear power will not be established at Kobenya. There we have the experimental reactor that is used for research, a research reactor that is used for research. And next to it is a training, a replica of that research reactor that is used to train people as to how to convert from high enriched uranium core to low enriched uranium core. But the thing is that if you encroach, knowing that there's atomic energy there, there's radiation there, and you want to encroach on that land, let me alone, that person should be irradiated, so that. Why? I mean, you see that, that is saying it, in a friendly way, but it shouldn't happen. Somebody said discipline. You see, to me, discipline is doing the right thing, especially when nobody is watching you. If we do that in Ghana, we'll be safe, home and dry. So don't encroach on atomic energy land. Don't encroach on CSIR land. Don't encroach on Ministry of Education lands. Don't encroach on railway lands. Don't encroach on Ministry of Agriculture lands. Don't encroach on government lands. Don't encroach on the land of your neighbor or any Ghanaian. Encroachment is very bad. So, if we encroach on atomic energy land, you see, there are all sorts of things that can be done, but I won't tell you what can be done. Don't do that. Atiwa, you see, in this country, sometimes there are people who are against mining bauxite in Atiwa, but the same people are actively engaged in Galamsey in Atiwa, destroying the water bodies, BRIM and all the water bodies. So when it suits them, when they have international collaborators, people from the West talking about environmental things, then they join them and so on. But they themselves, as at now, there's no bauxite mining going on, but Atiwa Range is a polluted area. They are encroaching on the forest. The BRIM is polluted to the extent that we have to train 61 people who are swimmers from Akotia area, train them at Esuchare, give them military training, use our resources, scarce resources to buy boats with outboard motors for them so that they can patrol the BRIM River and the adjoining land so that this thing doesn't happen. Why? Because people are doing illegal mining in Atiwa, and we know that some of them are saying that we should not do bauxite there. I'm not saying that that's what is going to happen, but trust me, we know the potential of Atiwa, but 5 rivers taking their origin from there. And whatever we do there will be sustainable. We cannot destroy the water bodies that are meant for the people, especially those in Accra and so on. So let us not engage in double standards. If we say we are going to protect it, then let's protect it even from illegal farming. Now, plastic levy account has been set up at the Bank of Ghana. If you see me privately and you want to donate to that fund, I'll give you the account number. It's been done. The Minister of Finance gave instructions to Controller. Is it Controller? Yes. And then Controller wrote to Bank of Ghana to set up an account. It's been set up. The account number is there. See me for it, and can donate a little bit of your big salary to that fund. It's been done. EPA and those recalcitrant people, you can trust me, if you step on EPA's toes, you'll be punished. And they'll make sure that you do the right thing next time. The big men are here. Mr. John Poorman and Mr. Samfa, they are here, and they did a very good job there. E-waste fund. As I said, Ghana, through the e-waste law, electronic Hazardous Waste and Electronic Law Act 917, enables Ghana to collect advanced eco-levy. The plant is going to be financed privately, but because that facility cannot reject any waste. For example, if we have an old TV that use cathode ray tube, not the modern ones, or a refrigerator, big thing with all sorts of gases, pollutants in it, the factory cannot reject it. So Ghana government will have to pay some money to that factory so that they can recycle the things that will not give them any money. For example, maybe a mobile phone can give that factory more resources than a big refrigerator, but it may be easier to recycle a mobile phone than a big refrigerator or a lorry tire. So in that case, there will be some part of the eco-levy will be made available to them so that they can help us dispose of very difficult to dispose, to handle e-waste. So that's what we're going to have. Otherwise, the plant is going to be built with private funds.
Prof, thank you. Colleagues, I think this is where we'll draw down the curtain on our morning lecture on environment, science, technology, and innovation. And we will trust that you would help the general public get acquainted with some of the major issues that Prof has spoken about. Prof, on behalf of the Ministry of Information, we want to thank you, your chief executives and your lieutenants for attending upon our invitation.